we lack. It tells you how much talent we lack while at the linebacker position. Because I think that immediately I think we said it last week with Anthony Hill. I think immediately if you draft a kid like David Bailey from Texas Tech, um, he would immediately be the most athletic guy on the team, man. And that tells you how that's what we're kind of lacking a little bit. Not kind of, we are. You know, as an organization, to get a kid who's just uber talented, can rush off the edge, has the bend. I love the quote. He's got the bend. He does. This kid's got it, man. And I always get like overzealous when the draft comes because there's so many guys that I like. There's so many guys that would fit here. You know what I mean, with this team. So many guys when you look at the tape and you say, "Man, this is what the Lions are lacking." We're not the only ones that see this. 6'3", 250 pounds. David Bailey is absolutely a guy that you want to, you know, draft in this upcoming draft. I mean, how could you not want all of that talent to just be able to coach this kid and bring him along and um, get them in your system, get them in the room, man. Like I said, ultimately, while before I take it away, we'll get into all the measurables, all the tendencies, all the traits. But like I said, again, uber talented, super athletic, man. Like I said, he has a skill set that no one has. Just the thought of this kid on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, at times you can move him around the line. But he did come off the edge a lot at Texas Tech. Whoever the defensive coordinator is, forgive me for not knowing who he is, but they always put this kid in the right spot, man. You know what I'm saying? They always deployed him, explode him on one side. You know what I'm saying? It just seemed like he was always where he was supposed to be. That's why Texas Tech was so successful this year. Their defense was real because I think David Bailey was a guy that they can count on. They can move around. They knew what they had. You know what I'm saying? They know that, put 31 out there and he's going to wreak some havoc. So then the kid, it seems like to me, he loves football like a decent, doesn't have any character issues from what I understand. So, yeah, I'm all in on David, but just like Anthony Hill, man. But like you said, I think he's a more explosive. I think he would bode well if I had to choose between the two of them. And you put both of them next to each other, and you say which guy do you want? I would pick Bailey over Anthony Hill that we did last week. You know what I'm saying? You know me, I like Anthony Hill a lot, but David Bailey's good. You pointed this guy out to me, and I like everything about him, man. I mean, he reminded me of kind of Tyree Wilson a little bit that came out of Missouri a couple years ago. I think the Raiders drafted him. But I think Tyree was a little bit taller, a little bit more arm span length, arm wingspan length. So it's something there with this kid, man. I don't know how you feel, right? Do you think that David Bailey, obviously he's a first round pick, but like in the first, I mean, where do you see him? Well, is he top 20? You know what I mean? Or does he somehow make it to the second round? Maybe, you know what I mean? Because it's going to be the demand for offensive lineman and quarterback,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So it may push him down. This could be a guy the Lions may have a chance to get, actually. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, first off, good morning, Trey Finesse. I'm glad you was able to join
Yeah,
us.
what's up, Trey?
Was good. Was good. Um, all depends on how you view him. If you look at a lot of different publications right now, including like draftbuzz.com has him rated as the number one, not just the number one edge, but they have him rated as the number one linebacker in this class ahead of Arvell Reese. And I think a lot of it does have to do with the pass rush ability, and our obsession as a society, as a football society right now with guys who get after the quarterback. What's the first thing most fans bring up, question wise, whenever you mention your team drafting a linebacker? Well, pass rush value. Does he
Yeah,
bring any pass rush value? How many sacks did he have last year? How many pressures did he create? They don't ask about whether or not he can protect gaps. They don't
yeah,
ask about whether or not he can tackle. They don't ask about whether or not he can take on guards and disengage and make plays. They don't
yeah,
ask about his ability to maintain, contain, and not let the C gap and D gaps get blown out of proportion. The first thing they ask you nowadays about a linebacker is, well, can he rush the passer? So I think that's the key reason why um, a lot of publications, I'm not gonna say a lot, but some publications do have him rated as the number one linebacker
Hmm.
slash number one edge in this class right now. But for me, when it comes to him, the same questions come up with a lot of linebackers, especially off-ball linebackers. What are you going to be within the system that you get drafted to? Because in my estimation, and we're going to get into the film real quick, some Stanford film for him last year before he got to Texas Tech, because I think it's important. And I did the same thing, or I'm doing the same exact thing with Fernando Mendoza with Indiana. If you have such a great year, if you transfer and you have such a great year at your new school in your new system, I still want to see what you were before you got to that new school and that new system. So, of course, today we're going to go back. First of all, we're going to look at some of his film from Stanford from 2024 versus NC State. And like I said, I said the same thing in regards to Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza is having a Joe Burrow type of season right now, where he had at LSU, at Indiana. This man looks like Miami could win that game, but to me, it looks like this is some fairy tale season for Indiana. Indiana, football wise, since I've been alive, has never been anything. They've
Hmm.
always been a basketball school. And for Indiana to make the complete 360 from what they used to be football wise to what they are now, I don't see how Miami beats Indiana. And I like Miami. I think they're a very, very tough, physical, fast football team, especially defensively. But you can say the same thing for Oregon, and they demolished Oregon. Just being honest about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You know. So I think with David Bailey, one of the questions I do have with him is, the run defense. Because I don't think he's a liability per se in run defense. But one thing I will say about him, 6'3", 250 pounds. He was 6'3", 238, listed at 238 when he was at Stanford last year, 2024. So from that offseason, leaving the Stanford program to transferring to Texas Tech, he put on 10 to 13, 14 pounds. So he's listed at 250 right now. So he has gotten strong. He played better against the run this year than he played at Stanford.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we all know about NFL run schemes. If they feel like as an outside linebacker, 3-4 outside linebacker, or if you are an every down 4-3 linebacker, they're gonna test you. They're gonna run some zone directly at you, some power. They're gonna get those guards out in space, and they're gonna come downhill at you. And that was a big issue for him. Once guards get their hands on him, it's kind of over with. Now there's a edge rusher slash linebacker in the league right now
Yeah.
who's had those questions about him his entire career, and that's Michael Parsons. Now, would you accept a Michael Parsons type of player in this defense, even if he wasn't elite against the run? Probably so, I would, because once again, it goes back to what do you have that linebacker surrounded by? He's got Jack Campbell, he's got Derek Barnes. More than likely, I believe they're going to bring back Rodriguez, Malcolm, for
Yep.
that matter. And if you talk about what he has in front of him, he's got Aiden Hutchinson, he's got a second year Tyleik Williams. How good Tyleik Williams is going to ultimately turn out to be, we really don't know. Reader's probably going to be gone after this season. They broke into his truck too many times. So
Yeah.
so he sounded like he done with Detroit, man.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But I still, and me and you talked about this before we started the video. Is it possible that we may be overvaluing some of our players? You know, um,
Good
I
question.
get
Very
it.
good question.
Was Aleem McNeil ever really a borderline star in this league? Because I hear a lot of fans say before the ACL injury, he was a budding star. Even before that injury, Aleem still was hit or miss.
Hmm.
There's games where he would look like Nick Fairley and Dominican Sue, and then there were games where he would disappear. So I've never been the Lions fan who just felt like, okay, Aleem McNeil has arrived. Never believed it. For one, I can't get a full season out of Aleem McNeil to really evaluate him. for that
Hmm.
matter. But I think Aleem is a good player. I'm not sure if he's what we thought he was going to be prior to that ACL injury. That's
What's
my
up, E?
what's
Yeah.
up. So I think maybe is it possible they select another defensive tackle at some point in time during the draft process? I think it's very likely somebody that provides a little bit more pass rush. It could be a guy that's 6'2", 290, a
Yeah.
speed rusher on the interior, a guy that can create some mismatches.
Yeah.
But but to get not to get too far off, but we made the comparison with Anthony Hill Jr., who we talked about last weekend for that matter. And these are two completely different players. One guy provides you, and I know E gonna love this because one guy provides you that big time pass rush ability that
Hmm.
the other guy really doesn't. Not to say that Anthony Hill Jr. can't give you any of that, but he was not really used that way at Texas. Texas Tech used not Anthony Bailey, but David Bailey in the
Hmm.
form that you would expect the pass rush to be used. And this is a guy who's been able to get after the quarterbacks since high school. Not that it really matters to a lot of people heading to the NFL, but his last season at Mater Day, and Mater Day is one of the biggest powerhouses in college high school football out there. If I'm not mistaken, he had 15 or 15 and a half sacks his senior year in high school. Um, not so much his first year at Stanford. Sack total grew at Stanford, and then you transfer to Texas Tech and you get a 14 and a half, 15 sack season there. So that lets you know that the overall skill set, pass rush wise, is there for him.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. He has all the tools, man. All of it. I want to see just the same thing with Anthony Bailey. It seems like I'm sorry, and I'm sorry, Anthony Hill. I'm sorry, the same Anthony
Yeah.
Hill. Anthony Hill looked like he had got caught a lot and couldn't shed blocks in key moments of the game. I think that was the thing that we noticed right off the bat in film study last week. I want to see if David Bailey's the guy that kind of gets out of the gate quickly, which I think he is. I think the tape is gonna show more of his ability to be able to shed blocks and make a play. You know what I mean when it's there to be made. So um, I do think he does have the right body type. You know what I'm saying? He does have uh, pass rush ability, man. It's just something about it. It's a skill set. You know, God given talent. Everybody doesn't have it. I do think that David Bailey is a first round talent. You know what I mean? I think he's that good. You know, especially I think he's his value more to me. I think if what the Lions want to do is he's a better the pass rusher. I think that we need somebody. Um, can we just get somebody on that side? And I think the cheapest way to do it, I hate to say it like that, the cheapest way to do it is to get a guy in the draft, man. Instead of signing somebody, making a trade, trading three more draft picks or something like that. I think that the easiest way that you can make a quick fix is to get obviously somebody like a Trey Hendrickson would be like, okay, that could be something you could do and not have to worry about that spot because you got two veteran guys, bookend guys. But I think the cheapest way to do it, and it may be an adjustment period just for the player, would be a guy like David Bailey because he's a rookie and he still has to get his feet up under him in the NFL. But I think and it could pay dividends in the long run. You know what I'm saying? I think that Aiden Hutchinson just needs a little bit of a threat from the other side. I think that that's all what this team needs, Walt. I think that a lot of things change when you got two guys that can rush the passer instead of one. You know what I mean? It just for me, I mean the math.
So you're not in favor of paying Al Qadim Muhammad a significant pay
No,
increase at
absolutely
31
not.
years old?
No, absolutely not. I mean I would not. I don't care. I don't care about.
We
Yeah,
gotta
I
ask y'all,
know.
Brent. Listen, we
I
gotta ask
know.
y'all this. What would y'all rather do? Draft the edge rusher and get some cheap labor out of them during the best years, younger years of their life,
No.
or risk it? Because listen, I 31. If first of all, for him to come out and say, and I don't hate on anybody, get paid, get your money. If you Al Qadim Muhammad, you be foolish to not take the bag. Like you
Mhm,
31 years old. This is your first and only big bag of your career. Why would you not take the money to go somewhere else?
mhm.
But are you? okay with paying this guy that money at 31 years old, knowing he could have been just a one hit wonder? Because at 31, there's a good chance, unless he's the football version of Max Scherzer, there's a good chance that he's never going to sniff 11 and a half, 12 sacks again.
Yeah,
Because now you're on the radar, and NFL offenses know you now.
yeah, and it's like for me, okay. Uh, you ask it right now since we on the subject real quick. I would make a trade. I would get Trey Henderson. Technically is a free agent now, right? Yeah, Trey Henderson's a free agent if I'm
But
not
they can't
mistaken.
franchise him again.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would absolutely sign Trey Henderson. You're not getting Max Crosby. Max Crosby's the guy that I wanted last year, but you got to give up picks to get him. Trey Henderson's a guy you don't have to give up anything and just sign. Yes, I would rather do that than even think about drafting a cheap way to do it. It's just we know, right? That's what Trey. That's why I worded it the way I did because we know Brad's not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? We know he's not signing Trey Hendrickson. So the only way we're going to have to build this team, I said it in a way because that's what we're doing. We're doing it the cheap way. So you do it the cheap way. You try to get the best cheap players you can. That's the way to look at it, man. I swear to God. Because for me, I was if I was y'all general manager, I would have made the trade and got Crosby here and just dealt with it at this time, after it was done. But yeah, I do. I think right now we just gotta we talking about the draft, man. We gotta just the collection of talent. We got to collect the talent. We've seen Philly do it. We've seen Kansas City do it. We've seen the Rams, collect players on that defensive line, and now look where they're at. Look at Jacksonville. Jacksonville got a ton of guys on defense. Trayvon Walker looked like he's starting to turn the corner now. So it does take a while with certain players. Look, this David Bailey, he reminds me of not. I don't want to be. It'd be blasphemy because I think Will Anderson's a hell of a player, one of the best pass rushers in the league. He got the upside of Will Anderson. He does. I think Will Anderson got a little bit more. He's a little bit taller, a little bit better wingspan. But David
Yeah.
Bailey, it's there. It's there, and I think we need to give Kelvin Shepard some players, man. We just said in the pre-show how Kelvin Shepard, I think everybody can agree that he kind of needs another year to kind of get what he needs, man. Think about it. He had no secondary. He didn't have any he didn't get any production from, other than Muhammad and Hutchinson at times. They played well, but other than that, it would just seem like he wasn't able to he couldn't do his job adequately, man, because we know we're limited. We want to play man coverage, and we didn't have the horses to play. It seemed like we've been saying it the last 3 years about this team, but we can't play man coverage, and I think that we don't have the players to do it. So to be able to play what we want to play, if that's the philosophy, you have to get guys that can put pressure on the quarterback. It's as simple as that. It's no if you're not talking about drafting an edge rusher that can make some plays and get to the quarterback, then why are we even going through this? You know what I'm saying? It's like we all see it. The fans see it.
Right.
Everybody sees what the glaring need is, and it just seems like does Brad see it? I mean, I guess I guess he mentioned it because he did say we have one guy with 14 and a half sacks. We have one guy with 11 and a half sacks. So he sees it, but I don't know if he values it or not. It's weird. It's a weird dynamic. It's really weird because if I'm just tell you this right now, if we don't get a pass rusher in this draft. I mean, I'm not talking about the guy, what's his name, Hassanian we drafted last year. Can we
Oh
get some
yeah.
players that can play ball, man? You know what I'm saying? Well, it just seemed like we're pulling teeth trying to get this organization to get that side of the ball right. You know what I'm saying? It's just they constantly just pick over and overlook guys that's glaring need. Like James, I heard somebody say James Pierce brought him up. James Pierce, like you said, I think he was a guy last year they would have targeted him, but they didn't. Atlanta traded up to get him. That type of thing. I do think it's a type of player that Brad Holmes is looking for, but who knows, man? You know what I'm saying? What order he's going to go in this draft because it's a shame because the offensive line, like you said, is not up to speed. With our secondary's a mess. Our safety situation's a mess. I mean, right now, I don't even know if defensive line is first on his priority list right now. You know what I mean? Just because how the season
Right.
ended. So
Yeah, I mean, and I've said this like pretty much all season, even last off season. For me, they need somebody, a weapon within that front seven to be a difference maker. And like I said, it can come from a pass rushing, a speed rushing type of defensive tackle, a prototypical three technique. We talked about Walter Nolan, even though Walter Nolan didn't have a great year for Arizona this year. But we talked about Walter Nolan last all season
yeah,
because he was the prototypical three technique pass rusher that this team kind of needed. Now, ultimately, they drafted more of a run stopping defensive tackle in Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State.
yeah,
But we've been asking for, at least me and myself, been asking for a weapon in the front seven. Even David Bailey. And you're gonna see it in this film here. He's well, at least right there, he's lined up
yeah,
at five technique outside the offensive tackle. And this turns out to be a free run play, but he has some effort plays in this film. Not a lot of big time stats at all, but he didn't have the amount of talent at Stanford around him the way he had in the 1 year he spent at Texas Tech.
yeah,
But this guy has shown, and even when we get into the second film study of him in a couple weeks, um, and this will be Texas Tech film, him against Arizona State for that matter, he had a pretty good game. But you see a lot of the positives in him now. Like I said, is he the best in regards to taking on guards and disengaging and making plays and protecting gaps and everything? No, but if you get him in space, he's a very willing tackler. He's not one of those linebackers
mhm,
that just from a physical standpoint don't want to take on offensive linemen. He's a guy that just doesn't necessarily have the play strength to consistently do it.
yeah,
And it's kind of strange he plays without gloves. And like play linebackers, offensive linemen, defensive linemen who play without gloves in this day and age, man, you okay with me, bro. So let's go ahead and get this film started. This is third down, if I'm not mistaken. This isn't the first play of the game, but this is third down. And you're gonna see a high effort play from him on this play from the backside. Now, granted, the running back, of course, didn't see him coming, but a lot of edge rushers in general, they will not make an effort on his play. He has another high effort play later on in the film. But like I said, you're going to see him lined up outside the offensive tackle here on this
mhm,
play. Now, granted, whether or not the offensive tackle's responsibility was to take on him really doesn't matter because I think if you look at, first of all, for him, it's the get off. You talked about his athleticism before we started the video. You talked about it at the beginning of the video. The athleticism, the quick first step, the explosiveness, that's what makes him such a prime time pass rusher. So even if the offensive tackle's responsibility was him on this play, which in general it really wasn't, he just got off too quick. That's the whole thing. And he's just going to hunt the running back down on this play. Nothing special
mhm,
at the end of the
yeah,
day, but he didn't necessarily have to make that play because the gaps were already sealed on that half of the field. So they move on to the next play, but we're gonna go ahead and move through some of this film study pretty quickly today because I know everybody has a lot to do, including you and I. But for the most part, they played him with a lot of these, and you're gonna see him dropping the coverage here. Now, whose responsibility ultimately was it to shade the middle of the field? You got zero right there. You got him lining up at edge right outside at five tech again. But that play probably should not have been given up. It would have been nicer to see him
yeah,
drop in the coverage and take over the middle of the field because zero's going to come on the blitz. You see the linebacker that's lined up next to him, he's going to fade,
yeah,
but he's going to fade way too far from the inside. And then the
yeah,
safety makes the tackle, but the safety was supposed to have been playing the robber situation in there. He didn't rob fast enough, so they gave up the middle of the field. But they're going to move him over here to the left side at five technique. Actually, he's gonna be lined up at six outside the tight end. Nothing really goes to him right there, but He did take on number 87, the tight end, in this spot here. But like I said, in this film, there's going to be a lot of run defense in here, not a whole lot of passing downfield, not a lot of snaps of him dropping into coverage, but you do get to see him in pass, not pass, but yeah, pass defense as well as
Yeah,
rushing the passer.
yeah, good in coverage. Yeah, good coverage right there.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Go back to this. So
yeah. Could wait a minute because the guy. Okay,
we're gonna
that was
see. I want people to see what he did on this play because he didn't have to do this.
yeah. And that's
This is the
20
one
yards down
thing.
the field. Yeah, there's a 20-yard line. Yes, in the end zone. Okay, go ahead. I
So
like
I'm gonna
linebackers that.
exactly. I'm gonna take the running back out of the backfield. He's steady looking, head backwards at the
Mhm,
quarterback. Quarterback takes off running. Now, granted, the corner made the tackle, but if the corner wouldn't have made the tackle, he would have made the tackle. So I want people to see how far he traveled on this play, at least 30 yards worth of grass.
Oh yeah,
Good coverage.
yeah. That was a good seal off block by
Good
number
play.
4. Yeah, number 4, good seal. That he sprung that even though South Carolina guy, um, I mean NC State, excuse me. That was a good seal off block. Um, yeah, that was a damn good screen right there. Damn good screenplay.
Look at him all the way downfield.
Yeah, that's like 40 yards down the field.
So they got him at 5 tech again. And this is where the alertness comes into play because immediately, okay, he let me go.
Yeah,
Anytime the offensive lineman lets you go, look for the screen.
yeah. But that was a good play design because you see our guy was thinking it was going to the right, but like I said, that the quarterback made that was a quarterback, made the right decision on that one. You know, good play design. Because
Yeah.
wait a minute,
So
Walt, did
good
number
if you go
20 did
back
he
to it.
flare out? Yeah, number 20 was he was the back on that. Yeah, do that again. I want to see how
Yeah.
that play ended up. Did he wound did he flare out or did he like just hide himself and get free? Oh, okay. Yeah, he was the one that got okay. I see now. Oh, okay. Okay. I see that was like a low key. That was a bunch play. They disguised the hell out of that. You know what I mean? That was a good play right there. Good play call. But yeah, I mean, he got some quickness to him. Like you said, this is his days at Stanford, where he's learned to be a way better linebacker now. You know what I'm saying? Than just the experience. I think Walt. And I like moving him around. Look how many different disguises. Yeah, he shed blocks pretty good too.
Yeah. And also you see we've seen so far in the video in multiple screens, as well as him dropping back in coverage. He's a very alert player. So
Mhm.
he's not gonna over pursue here. He easily could, but he's not. He'll take on the tackle. If you look at where his head is on this play, he's not just wrestling with the tackle or the guard. And this is what gets on my nerves with a lot of edge rushers in this day and age. Follow the football. You don't want to get caught up in just having a bunch of wrestling matches with offensive tackles. If you look at where his head is, and he's really good with his hands too. Now, the play strength, I don't know. But if you look at him and his hand work, rarely does, and this is really key for edge rushers, especially undersized edge rushers, guys who are 6'3, 240. Even
Mhm.
Will Anderson, for that matter. Will Anderson is 6'4, 242. At least he came in the league out of Bama at 6'4, 242. You have to make sure when you're small as an edge rusher, do not let these dudes get their hands on you and keep their hands on you. Look where his hand is right now. If anybody can see where his right hand is right now and how his body is contorted right here, leverage. Swipe club that hand off. And the whole time now, that play had nothing to do with him. He didn't give up the catch.
Yeah.
But soon as the ball left the quarterback's hand, his head was already downfield. So he's aware of what's going on. Now he's lined up at edge again at 5 tech, going to take on the tackle. And I know for people out there who may not understand to be used to this, linebacker play can be pretty boring because when it comes to linebacker play, especially in games like this with teams offensively like NC State that like to run a lot of bunch,
Mm-hmm.
like to run a lot of confusion, get you distorted at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Um, Try to fool your edge rushers for that matter. Because how many plays have we seen so far, including this one? How many plays have we seen so far where a lesser alert edge rusher
Mm-hmm.
would just pin his ears back and not even look at the football and just
Yeah.
go for the quarterback? But once again, if you look at him, and I'll stop at anything you want me to stop at, but when you look at him, he's gonna fight with the offensive tackle. But while I'm
Yeah.
fighting with you, I'm gonna also be keeping my eyes in the backfield. So that's why I say I
Yeah.
think he's not as good against the run as people would like him to be, but it's not because he has no effort or he doesn't like physicality.
Yeah.
Look at this. Now this is 60. I'm not sure how big this right tackle is,
Yeah.
but this is 6'3", 250 against has to be 6'5", 300 pounds.
Yeah. He's like I was gonna say, yeah. Three at least he
Okay,
over
look how he
three.
gets him.
Good leverage. Yeah, good leverage on that. He had good play he diagnosed the play pretty good too. I mean, I noticed that because I think I think he would be better against the run. That's all coachable to me. I think in the next level, that's all coachable. I think right now he wants to make a play. I think that's why he gets off the block so fast because I think he at least gonna run down, like you say, effort wise, gonna try to go down and make the tackle if he can. You know what I mean? But I think he wants to get to the quarterback on this right here, at least cause some disruption, cause pressure. You see, number 40 wound up putting his hand on him, but pushing the quarterback. But I think he just wants to cause some pressure on those plays, on the obvious passing downs. You know what I'm saying? That's coachable to me. I think he can learn to be a better, it's all about angles and getting inside the gaps. I think it's, for him, I just think, he just needs more experience at doing it.
Speed.
Yeah.
Now this play right here, he got his hand in the dirt. This is all speed right here, and he give him a little bit of long arm
Now, who
to
was
make
NC
sure the
State's
tackle.
quarter? Yeah, who was NC State's quarterback in this? I'm gonna look this up. Dude was kind of balling a little bit to me. Let's see.
Okay, so he gonna square up with him at an angle though. Never want to necessarily see him square up, especially as an undersized edge rusher. But he catches him at an angle. That's the whole thing. So if you look at his feet right there and the angle that he's catching his offensive tackle at, there's not much he can really do if there's speed involved, which it is. He's
Mm-hmm.
gonna push him off. Now, granted, did he get the sack? No. He got the hurry. I know fans around here love hurries. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, man, he affected that play. Was the play still a positive play? Of course it was.
Yeah. CJ Bailey. I think that's the quarterback for NC State. Yeah. Yeah, see, he causes pressure. I think, and then he wants to get the leverage too. I think disadvantage.
Good rep.
Yeah, gets correct. Yeah, I think the advantage he wants to bring is like throughout the game and eventually wear you down. You know what I'm saying? Where he can set himself up to make the big sack at the end of the game. Um, oh, look at that! Dropped in the coverage. That
Good
was
rep.
nice. That was nice.
Head is always in the backfield. And I think that's a big reason why he gets a lot of sacks too. The edge rushers who pay close attention to what the hell's going on in the backfield. Now this is max protect right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, 7 guys. 7 guys, single backfield. Yeah. Yeah, dude from UNC State making all the right plays. Every play. I mean, he, maybe didn't mount to anything, but we can see they actually win in this game. But you can see the where they respect that Bailey can get to the quarterback, man. You know what I'm saying? Because they chipping him. Well, this guy kind of came up the field, 65. It's almost like I think he's better. I think he better, obviously, coming off the edge. You know what I'm saying? I think he can make more of an impact. You know what I'm saying? Because you're right. See, that's a good play. He took that screen away, but again, this CJ Bailey, this quarterback for NC State, man, making all the right plays. You know, not turning the ball over at all. But um, let's see.
Good, good.
You know, see right there, little see. That was a
Yeah,
good
you
by
see
the
what
quarter.
CJ Bailey wanted it. He could
Yeah,
low key Bailey could have still thrown that pass because you talking about an edge rusher
but that would
covering
have
a
been a
wide receiver.
loss, right? Or no
It
gain.
shouldn't have been. If my
Yeah,
wide receiver gets hit in that play for a loss, think about look at this though. If we look at it from this angle,
that's the
because Bailey's gonna play the pass, but I think it's obvious that he's playing the running back number 20 on this play. Good. Know your keys.
yeah,
Yeah, he could have. Well, Bailey's athletic enough. Bailey could have closed on that.
yeah,
But the
right.
wide receiver number 15 had a lot of grass. So that's why I say if Bailey would have threw that football to the wide receiver anyway, and that
Yeah,
wide receiver would have got caught and tackled for a loss, I would have faulted the wide receiver for that, honestly.
okay,
But we got second down and 3, man.
yeah,
Ball on. Oh, they in the red zone.
yeah. They in the red zone, 18-yard line. Yeah,
He protected the C gap.
yeah,
See that, like I said, that's what I like about him. This is why I believe that people who think he's just the edge rusher, and since he struggled against the run, that he can't play the run. I strongly believe he can be your consistent every down 3-4 outside linebacker,
yeah. Oh
weak
yeah,
side or strong side,
yeah,
because he can cover and he's a willing tackler and he's a very alert player.
yeah.
Nice
Oh
catch.
yeah. 30. What was that? 35 should have had that right over his head.
Okay.
No, no, it
Even
was
though he didn't win that rep,
21. Yeah,
I do like the fact that he never stopped moving his hands.
hmm,
Because if you want to be honest about it, the tackle could have threw him out the club on this play. You look at where the tackle's hands are. The tackle's hands are where they should be,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
But push off, hand fight. He kept fighting that right hand off, which is
See,
why the offensive tackle couldn't toss him out the club the way you would think. But one thing's for certain, man, when you see 6'3", 250, no, he was 238 this year at Stanford when he was there his last year at Stanford. We talking about 6'3", 238 going up against 6'4", 6'5", 300-pound tackles who can't really get a solid grip on him to throw him out the club. Now, do I think he's a hand in the dirt edge rusher, down in, down out? Hell no. Here he goes again. He's gonna drop it to that zone. Shit, if that comeback route would have been thrown more on accurate, he might have actually caught the ball and made some plays.
yeah. I like that
You
move.
gonna
I told you, I like, any defensive coordinator team that moves their players around, man. I like that. You know what I'm saying? I like that he's already familiar with doing that. And I think for the Lions to draft, you got to be multifaceted, you know what I'm saying, where you can play in different sets, different, situations. I
damn.
do think that's a good thing as well.
Why the hell it took him so much energy to throw that damn comeback? Weak ass arm strength. All right. Second, man, you ain't see how hard he took him to throw that football 12 yards? All right, right outside the red zone. They call this the green zone. Lined up at 5 tech. Okay, so he's gonna try to take the B gap. And the offensive tackle got his hands on him and said, hell no. Speed it up, speed it up.
Yeah.
So close quarters action. See, even on this play, it was actually his job to attack that gap.
Yeah.
So people will look at that play and say, well, he got swallowed up. The play went to the opposite gap and this or that. He was actually supposed to attack that gap and protect that gap on that play in case it was a run play. Now, it didn't turn out to be a run play, but you're going to
Here
get
you
him
go.
once
Here you
again.
go. Yeah, here you go. You got them backed up this month. This the money time right here. You got to make an impact. But they sealed him off. Yeah, he got
Yeah.
caught up. Yeah, he got caught that time. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, see, he got caught up. Caused a big play. You know what I'm saying? I think he had the wrong angle, bad angle. That was terrible. I mean, that's the one
Yeah.
bad play. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think he would have. The play ended up going to the backside anyway. I don't think he stood a chance at making the play on this.
Yeah, no, he was out of
Good
the.
cutback.
Yeah, yep. NC State was balling in this game, dude. I see why they probably won the game. You
Look
know
at
what I mean?
23 though.
Yeah, he's still running. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like the effort is consistently there. And I guarantee you, this is something, damn, NC State 52-21.
Mhm.
This is something I guarantee you that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes love. And
Yeah,
Kelvin
there you
Shepherd.
go. There you go. There we go. Oh man, that I like that. That's nice. He overpowered my man big time. Overpowered him. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. When you get a guy that's already backpedaling and you got him right there, he got him. You know what I'm saying. He already got the leverage on him. You know what I'm saying. That's huge, man. You know what I'm saying. And that will
Holding call too.
that will translate to the NFL. That ability right there. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, because he's gonna run the hoop on this. Good. I like the dead leg. I like
Right
that
there.
dead leg right there too.
Right there. Powerful, man. Powerful
That's
lower
six
body.
three. That's 250 pounds against 300 plus.
Yeah.
So that lets you know he has some sort of play strength.
Yeah.
Second and 13. Game out of hand, so you're not gonna get a whole lot of passing downs from here on out. But
Mhm.
once again, pay attention to what it. Whoa, hold on. Who the hell did he drop that ball or
Yeah. He
Did
dropped it.
Bailey
It looked
force
like he
that
was
fumble?
yeah, no, it looked like he was gonna change hands, put the ball in a different hand. It looked like it. Watch.
Stop the rush. Okay, nothing's going on outside. Quarterback head goes back to the middle, actually to the left side. He could have kept going with his key, but he didn't. He stops. As soon as the quarterback get ready to throw the football, he's breaking. Boom.
To watch.
You sure he ain't knocked that football out?
Did he knock it out? He swooped in like Superman. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Did he get it?
It
Hey,
looked to me like
he might have put a hand on it. Yeah, I mean, I go with that. I mean, it was super fast reaction, but yeah,
32
everything you
because he
watching
lined
is
up over the tackle. Nothing really going on that way.
now. Let me ask you a question while we watching these. I mean, now is this a guy that you yourself would consider drafting? You know what I'm saying? Now, would
Absolutely.
you know what I mean in the first 15 picks? You know what I'm saying? Is he a first
There,
round talent?
there you
You know what
go.
I mean? Yeah, there you go. Yep.
There you
Causing
go.
turnovers, making plays. You know. Oh yeah, yeah. See, he been wanting to do that the whole game, man. He been trying. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. I think players like him set themselves up for later on in the game, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a mind game, especially with the offensive lineman. You know what I'm saying, Walt? Because the offensive linemen know that he can get there. You know what I'm saying? And he's been knocking on the doorstep the whole game, pretty much. To get to the spot. So, but this time it was. I think that might have been a
This is
tight
why
end.
I'm not as yeah, this is why I'm not but even with these tight ends, man, these tight ends nowadays, if you can't block, you can't see the football. So they have to be some sort of adequate blocker. But most of these tight ends today are what, 240 plus? Except for like those hybrid pass catching tight ends, those specialist tight ends like Kyle Pitts and some of these other guys. Aronde Gaston Jr. is another one, tight end with the Miami, no, with the Chargers, LA
Chargers.
Chargers.
Yep.
But most of these tackles, not tackles, most of these tight ends today are bigger than these edge rushing linebackers, you know. But once again, he shows his ability to, okay, you know what? You got your hands on me, but at the end of the day, I can still disregard because my hands are strong enough. And what did we talk about with Anthony Hill Jr. last week? We talked about him being blocked by tight ends. We talked about the final play of that game where he had a chance to get a sack and he was blocked by a running back. Remember that play
Yeah.
with Anthony Hill Jr.?
Yeah.
With an edge rusher, a primetime elite type of edge rusher, I need to see that when you get a tight end on you, oh, you say, oh, barbecue chicken. When you get a running back on you, oh no, Chico sticks. I'm about to crush you, boy. And whenever he gets matched up with a tight end or a running back, it's curtains. And we've always heard about with edge rushers, you can't let running backs block you. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't let tight ends block you. Tight ends need to have hell to pay when they try to block you. Now he got his hand in his dirt on this play over at 5 tech. He's gonna run the hoop again.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
I was about to say hell of a catch, but it didn't happen. All right, so we look at this play. Where we gonna get him lined up at? Outside the tackle again, wide outside the tackle.
Mm-hmm.
He been beating 74 and 65 a lot though in this game. So now he's back over there on the right side because they believed in moving him around a lot. Okay, one arm. Look at that,
Yeah.
look at that hook. Look at that hump move. Now I've been telling people, how often do we talk about edge rushers who don't have any pass rush moves? We talked about Shamar Stewart last year, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Shamar Stewart looked like Julius Peppers, Miles Garrett, 6'4, 6'5, 270 pounds, chiseled body, Greek god, looked like the guy that you want to look like getting off the bus. But guy can't get to the quarterback to save his damn life. This man jumped in with the long arm first. And after he jumped in with the long arm, he used the offensive lineman's momentum at the angle he was at to hook that right arm under there. I swear your boy Reggie White will be proud right now. And look at that leverage. Now, granted, did he make the sack? No. But if the quarterback was half a second late, Bailey would have killed him. Bailey was about to get there and
Yeah.
probably strip the ball out. I think he has what, 9 forced fumbles or 7 forced fumbles,
For a
7 career
senior.
forced fumbles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna get through a few more plays before we get out of here from David Bailey Jr. Doesn't over pursue. Homeboys make the play for him. It's all about keeping contained.
Yeah. Yeah, he well coached, man. Like I said, and this is his Stanford days right here. I mean, like you said, now I think he's way more polished, man. Balled on some of those those runs, those obvious passing downs, where you need your defensive end when you require more. You know what I mean? I think that he's polished, way more than we've seen.
Good shit, big fella. And he like he choked somebody to the ground too. I like that. Let him know putting hands on that 6'3", 238 is gonna be a price behind it. So he lined up over a tight end right here. Look at this. Do not let a tight end block you. Gets rid of him. Eventually gets rid of him. Now if you look at him here, he already pissed off at it. Look at him. He already pissed off at him. So make sure you finish the play. You take 49 all the way to the ground. Disregard, make the play. Man, play over. Get your damn hands off me. Feet all in the air. All right, fourth quarter. Early fourth quarter. We looking at second down and 4. And that was it. Because at the end of the day, hold on one second for everybody.
Yeah, that was
Um, yeah, so that was the end of the play because they had no more possessions in that game. So, like I said, that was his Stanford days. Of course, when we get into the Texas Tech film, the next film on him will be in a couple weeks. It'll be him against Arizona State. But like I said, this is a guy who had almost 15 sacks this year. He's a natural pass rusher. You can see how Stanford, not Stanford, but you can see how NC State played him and
mm-hmm.
how they set up their protections. They set up their protections to prevent him from wrecking the game. Honestly, now
Yeah.
whether or not he can consistently play with his hand in the dirt, I don't know. I particularly wouldn't like him as an every down hand in the dirt edge rusher. But for me, and I'm gonna make this comparison. I don't want people to say because this is a guy who should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't understand how he's not in, even though he's not eligible yet. I think he just officially retired, if I'm not mistaken, a year or two ago.
Who's that?
But Robert Quinn, remember Robert Quinn
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
played for the Rams,
Oh
played
yeah.
for the Bears, was highly productive everywhere he was. Wasn't great against the run, but Robert Quinn, if I'm not mistaken, Robert Quinn, from a height weight standpoint, was right around that same area, 6'3", maybe 240,
Mm.
250 something in
Yeah,
that
I thought he was a
range.
little bit taller.
But a highly skilled pass rusher, highly
Mm.
skilled pass rusher, former wrestler, had that entire background. For a guy like David Bailey, we got to see some of the issues, I guess, in regards to guards getting their hands on him. Is he a perfect prospect? No.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're talking about a guy, is he a liability? No. He's not a perfect prospect. He's not a liability in my estimation. But is he okay? He's a linebacker. He's an outside linebacker that doesn't take on guards well. And if some of these guys, bigger, stronger guys, get their hands on him, they wash him out of plays. I get that. But as a defensive coordinator, you look at what he brings to the table.
Mm-hmm.
All I gotta do is protect you. And just like at the end of the Anthony Hill video last week, we got into what the Lions have in place to protect him. Okay. If you look at what the Lions have in place to protect this guy right here, I still think even if they took him or someone like him, I still think that wouldn't stop them from taking a more traditional defensive end. Because it's obvious, like Marcus Davenport, Aiden Hutchinson, they like 6'6, 270, those big, long, athletic edge rushers who play contained. That's why they like Tyree Wilson so much before he came out because
Mm-hmm.
Wilson fit that mold. Wilson was what, 6'6,
Yeah. Like
260
250.
something,
Yeah,
long arms.
260.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the kind of guy they like at edge. So if you're telling me, and I'm using Marcus Davenport as an example, because I think he has the perfect skill set for what they want out of their 3-4 DNs or even a 4-3 DN. You get a guy like that and you have David Bailey behind him coming off the edge
Oh yeah.
or behind Aiden Hutchinson. Think
Mm-hmm.
about it. Think about what you can do with a guy like David Bailey with a Marcus Davenport type of talent in front of him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Tyleek Williams, if he turns out to be what we think he can be. Nobody else in the middle of that defensive line because nobody else has shown us whether it's Levi and Wuzarike or Josh Pascal. Neither one of those guys has shown us that they're can they stay on the field enough, or even when they're on the field, can they be a guy that can demand a double team in front of Bailey? But if you have defensive linemen in front of David Bailey who can command double teams,
Yeah.
yeah, I have no question in my mind that David Bailey can be a consistent 10 to 14, 15 sack guy because
Yeah.
the effort is there, the hand movement is there, the power is there, the hand skill is there, and the natural ability to get after the quarterback is there. And then you got Jack Campbell playing next to him also to help him out. So, what are your thoughts on David Bailey Jr. just after this first video? Because the next video got more action in it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we've seen, you know, the flaws. You know, I say flaws. It's all correctable. You know what I'm saying? But like you said, I think the newer film that we'll watch from Texas Tech, I think it'll show him, and I think it's good we're doing it this way because you'll be able to see the progress. It's all about coaching. I think better talent was on his side at at Texas Tech. You know what I mean? And I think that they tapped in to the untapped ability that he already had. You know what I mean? And now you couple that with some better defensive prospects. Because make no mistake about it, Texas Tech defense was real this year. So I do think now, I mean, heck, you can kind of just do whatever you want with them. You know what I mean? For him to be successful, man, because I think the physical traits are there. You know what I mean? He's got some good um, I like his reaction. I like how he diagnoses what the heck's going on in the backfield. I do like that, and all of those are good things where NFL teams are really tap into what he can do. Well, I think that we know coaching is everything, man. You know what I mean? Coaching is everything. It is for certain players. We obviously know they got talent, but some players, if you couple the talent with the confidence, trust me, all of these guys know the plays and they know defenses like the back of their hand. They know offenses like that. But now you just couple your just getting these guys to break out their superpower, that type of thing, where their money make. Then the confidence is there, and man, he's going to be a good NFL player. I mean, as long as he's Byron, he stays healthy. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, you don't go to a train wreck of an organization and just don't just totally misuse the kid, which I hope that don't happen. But yeah, I'm just talking about just for us as a whole. I think, like you said, because we already got some decent players already, and it can tap into what he has that can kind of, it could be just like a beautiful marriage, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Where you get the right guy for the right system at the right time that was picked and curated for you. You know what I mean? I think that Kelvin Shepard needs players like this. You know what I'm saying? I think that he wants more athletic players like this that he can deploy. And, because that was sort of kind of what he was a little bit, in some instances. You know what I'm saying? I think Kelvin Shepard, when he played, was more of a pure linebacker at that time. But, now you got to be able in the lines. We know Dan Campbell, they like players that can do multiple things. You know what I'm saying? As far as we can drop you in coverage or you can rush the passer, help out in the run game, stuff like that. So I like number one. I think David Bailey, before we get out of here, I think David Bailey is a pure pass rusher. I think that's what he is. I think that's why maybe sometimes he may feel indecisive in the run game sometimes, or a bad angle, or because he's containing the C gap or something like that. I think if he knows it's not the money down, I think he knows, okay, I can drop in coverage or block this screen or get around my guy and maybe put some hands in quarterback face. So I want a guy that's really, to be honest with you, I want a guy that's a pure pass rusher. You know what I'm saying, for this team, man. I think that's a trait that we haven't had in a long time. You know what I'm saying? To have a guy that's what he's paid to do, is rush the quarterback. So
Yeah. I think just overall though, especially for this team, if he can't play the run, he won't see the field. Remember how high everybody was on James Houston? Now, James Houston was a little bit different. Houston was around this same height weight though. But James Houston had an issue, I think, with playing linebacker. James Houston wanted to
mhm,
just rush the passer, and that's it. Like in this day and age in the
mhm,
NFL, unless you're some 16, 17 sack guy consistently every year, they're not going to
mhm.
allow you to just suck against the run and just rush the passer. What I think is completely different with David Bailey Jr. First of all, David Bailey Jr. is a way better athlete than James Houston was.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh
Second,
yeah.
this guy is he had the effort is higher on the backside in regards to chasing down plays. We've seen what 4 or 5 plays in this film study alone where the play was completely out of his jurisdiction, but
Mhm.
he still was the first guy there or the second guy there to get to the ball carrier or whatever. So the effort is there. The IQ for damn sure is there. We saw plenty of IQ plays in this film too. So that's why I say, when it comes to evaluating linebackers slash edge rushers, the film can get kind of boring, especially if you don't know what to actually look for. So all you'll see to the untrained eye, a lot of times they'll watch this film and all they'll see is, oh, he's just wrestling with tackles, and why didn't he make that play? And they had a big play on this situation. He didn't get to the quarterback, da da this and da da that. This guy is damn good in coverage. He forces fumbles and he gets after the quarterback. And he's not an unwilling tackler at linebacker. There's a difference between a guy that struggles in run defense and a guy that just doesn't want to defend the run or just more reluctant to not play the run. He's not with some scary ass linebacker out there that doesn't want to play the run. He's a very physical player. Now, does he have some physical limitations where NFL tackles or NFL guards may destroy him? It's possible from time to time. But when you have a guy that's this multifaceted in regards to dropping into coverage, we watched how easy he drops into coverage.
Yeah.
How easy. He doesn't look out of place. He doesn't look awkward. He doesn't look uncomfortable. He looks like a guy that understands, okay, I can get after the quarterback and I can drop in coverage. I think David Bailey's a damn good football player. And if you want to put him with what we have, is he the guy that changes everything? I'm not sure. Could he turn out to be the type of linebacker slash edge rusher that changes everything for us? Is possible. But like you
Mhm.
and I both said, and we both can agree on this, that front seven needs another difference maker.
Yeah. Yep.
Whether it's a
That's
defensive
imperative.
tackle, is an edge rusher, is a 3-4 linebacker. That's the big reason why I think you and I both were high on Arvell Reese. Because Arvell Reese isn't just the typical off-ball linebacker. Like Arvell Reese, you can move him around, and Reese can do a lot of different things. And I think we both agree that that's the type of defensive guy in the front seven this team really needs right now because they got run stoppers, they got big fellas in the middle. You have a
Yeah.
borderline superstar edge rusher in Aiden Hutchinson who had 13 sacks this season.
Yeah, 14 and a half. You
Yeah,
got Jack Campbell, Pro Bowl linebacker. You know what I mean? Him and Jack Campbell would be really good in some situations, because they are sure tacklers. So, yeah, I mean, it's something like you said. I'm already looking at what we have and to bring in a guy like him. I think that's what I meant when I said bring it in on the cheap. You know what I mean? On a rookie contract, a guy that can play every down, that can actually, be a starter for this team. You know what I mean? Because I think that's what we're lacking, man. I think what I mean. How many times have we been in the next man up mode the last 2 years, man? You know what I'm saying? And we getting guys off the street. How about let's draft a guy with the skill set of David Bailey Jr. and we won't have to be looking for guys on the street. You know what I mean? And let's just get a guy like him and get him in our system, man. I think everybody would see right away the benefit of it. You know what I'm saying? Because the kid's too good because of his physical attributes not to be in there. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you draft this kid and he'd be like not in there playing. I think it's nobody else in front of him that would be, blocking his way. I think, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, David Bailey, heck of a prospect, man. Of him to go to Anthony Hill. What if you can get both those guys in your system? I think both of them guys would be a situation where you could interchange those guys, sort of like Jahai Campbell and N'Kobe Dean. I just use those two guys like two young defensive end slash linebackers and just add them to your team, man, and find ways to get them to the field. We need the best player available at linebacker. We need the best player available at defensive end. We need the best player available at D line when it's time for us to pick. You know what I'm saying? So we, like you said, man, we need linebacker, we need defensive end, we need D line, we need corner, we need safety. It's no stone unturned in this draft. I think the only thing you may can get away with, because it is some decent free agent running backs out there. Now that we know that Dave Montgomery's not going to be back, it seems like, you may not want to draft a running back and maybe sign one in free agency, because it's about 4 or 5 guys you can get. You know what I mean? We'll talk about free agency later, but Yeah, defensive, and that's the thing, Walt. I mean, it may come down to drafting David Bailey Jr. or the top center in the draft. If we don't go after Tyler Lindenbaum, we could be, looking at Parker Brailsford at center or David Bailey Jr. or Anthony Hill or Caden Proctor. You know what I'm saying? Or, I'm just thinking of guys that we could pick. Connor Lew, I think, is the other center from Auburn. It may be between him and what's the kid, Sonny Styles or Arville Reese, so man, it's gonna be, or would you dare even think about drafting Caleb Downs if you're Brad Holmes? You know what I'm saying? Because you kind of need, that's a need, man. As much as people don't want to admit it, you know what I'm saying? I just think that right now, the best player available, most talent, most upside, regardless of the position, that's where I'm going. You pick one side of the ball for the first round. If you say, man, I'm getting the best O lineman in the draft at that time, I'm cool with it. If you say I'm getting the best linebacker defensive end in the draft in the first round, I'm cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Because we need players regardless of the position right now, man. You know what I'm saying? On rookie contracts, because we got a lot of maneuvering to do in free agency. We got our own free agents to sign. So I do think we need to get some talent where it's cheap right now. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the best way to do it is
Yeah,
to do it in the draft.
yeah. And just to piggyback off what you were just saying in regards to like Caleb Downs, for example. Well, why in the hell we draft the safety? We've got Kirby and BB. Like, listen, even if Kirby and BB weren't hurt, this is an NFL. If you look at Baltimore, what they did with Malachi Stark last year when they took him, um, the Ram, not necessarily the Ram, but yeah, the Rams too. Even though the Rams aren't having as much success with it, but if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, the Seattle Seahawks, I think a lot of it started with Mike McDonald in Seattle. More defenses are starting to play with three safeties as part of their base.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, if you look at Brian Branch, probably won't play to the middle of next season. Kirby Joseph, we all know what's going on with that knee. That knee could give him problems the rest of his playing career.
Mm-hmm.
Safety's a need. Now you can argue whether or not safety in the first round is a need or the second round or whatever. But if you plan on playing three safeties next season, why in the hell wouldn't Caleb Downs be considered a need? And you think about the possibilities where you could have Caleb Downs, Brian Branch, and Kirby Joseph on the field at the same time. And for teams like for a lot of teams who struggle at corner, and I think that's a big reason why a lot of defenses are starting to switch to a base defense with three safeties. It's easier to find high level safeties than it is to find shutdown corners.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just plain and simple, bro. A lot of these safeties, they couldn't cut it at corner. So they were average corners or bad corners, but when you move them to safety, these guys turn out to be high level safeties. People forget Malachi Starks played a lot of nickel his first year at Georgia. So a lot of these guys, they've been bred to play corner, but they're safeties at heart, so to speak. So what's the best way to make sure you clean up having bad cornerback play?
Good
Great
safety play.
safeties,
Great
great
safety play.
safety play. That's
Yeah.
the whole thing about it. And if you look at a guy like Caleb Downs, it is not turned into a Caleb Downs video. Caleb can cover the slot. I'm not sure how good Caleb can drop out to the outside and cover on the perimeter. You're not asking him to do that. But there's not much that Caleb Downs can't do. So if you telling me I'm stuck with Rake Straw, Terrion Arnold, DJ Reed, and all these other dudes, and the Meek Robertson at
Nick
corner,
Robertson gone. He ain't coming back. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's
there
another
we
thing.
go. So
Yeah.
you if you telling me that's what I'm stuck with as my
Yeah.
corners, you damn right I'm considering taking Caleb Downs. Because if I gotta have average ass to below average corners, I better have three great safeties on the field to protect them dudes and pass rush for that matter. So if Caleb Downs was there at their pick, which is what, 16
Yeah.
or
16,
17? 17.
16, 17, 17. Yeah.
I don't think Caleb Downs is gonna be there at that pick, but I seriously believe he's a guy they should consider if he's there at that pick because I agree with you 1000%. Fans got to stop being so damn narrow minded when it comes to the first round. We must take an offensive tackle, and I will hear nothing else of it. We must take an edge rusher. I don't want to hear anything else of it. No, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself like that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
common sense will tell you if you're picking number 17 and the number one safety's on the board, and this is a guy that everybody from PFF, who everybody loves so much, Draft Buzz, our lads, everybody has him rated as the number one DB, not the number one safety.
yeah.
They have him rated as the number one DB in the draft. Why in the hell at number 17 would you draft the third best offensive tackle or the fourth best offensive tackle over the number one safety? Because you're trying to fill a need. That's BS. That would be idiotic, I think, as a fan base to think that that's what this team should do. Oh, well, we took a safety in the first round. Well, we needed offensive line help. Why would you do that? What would you rather have, the fourth best offensive tackle or the number one safety
Right. That's right.
or the number one corner for that matter or the number one edge rusher? If David Bailey's sitting there at number 17, you can't say that the question won't rise up in your head, man. David Bailey or the third best offensive tackle. So I just
Yeah.
think that it's something that fans should start to think about a little bit more because you don't want to get stuck on drafting a position in the first round. You want to make sure you get the best player possible.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, I totally agree. 1,000%. Just everything you just said, man. Next the next time. When is the Senior Bowl? Senior Bowl coming up? Um I thought the Senior Bowl is like after obviously the championship game. College football is Monday. Shout out to Indiana, the Hoosiers, and the Hurricanes. I'd love to see Indiana win the national title. It's amazing, the season they've had to actually get to this point. Fernando Mendoza absolutely is a prospect to me. It's another guy that I since October, man, I've been kind of since the Penn State game, that last drive to win that game in hostile territory, showed me a lot about him, man. Poise, the kid's got some poise. He played in a tough environment yesterday. I mean, tough environment. I mean, it was a lot of Indiana fans, but what I'm saying is the magnitude of the game within the game within yourself. To trying to stay calm and stay focused and be a leader of a team, and playing in a national semifinal game and make it to the national championship spoke volumes to me, man. The way they played last night, the defense obviously gave them a good start with a pick six to start the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, I just thought about him for a minute. Indiana's got a couple ball. They play as a team, but they got a couple ball players I really do like on that defense. We get into it some more. So, yeah, before we get out of here, I mean, I think we covered kind of we did everything. Okay, February 1st. Thank you all for that. I think we covered some good things. These last 2 weeks. I think some things that that obviously this team needs. Because it's ultimately we doing these videos as a whole, but we are doing it, to kind of give us some help too. You know what I mean? And you think that we hope that the Lions would kind of go this route and some of these picks, man, and obviously they see what we see, but hopefully if they pull the trigger on some of this stuff, man, it'll be a faster track to regain our glory from the last 2 years. So that's all I kind of had for today on this situation. And two, when we get back into it, next week, I think the offensive line prospects, we're gonna cover everything, but defense, I'm glad we starting kind of with defense because I think that if I had to pick a side, if you just had to choose, and I'm glad you asked that question, would you go with Caleb Downs or the third best lineman? I'm going with Caleb Downs. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even messing around. I'm not even walk for me. You know me, how I would drive. I would not even chance it. I'm taking the top talented secondary player. If you tell me Caleb Downs there, I'm running the card up there. It's not even a choice with me. So I'm trying to get talent. I'm trying to get high level talent at every level of this team. You know what I'm saying? I think the only thing that It's a misconception about this team. I think that people think that automatically that we're going to be back next year to being a good, like a playoff dominant team. And I think it's
They
going to
thought they
take,
thought the same thing this past all season, bro.
I think it's going to be two draft. I don't think next year, I mean, not saying we're going to be like
I
bottom
think it's
feeder.
possible.
You think
If you
so?
look at what Jacksonville did
Yeah,
from
I think
season to
they
season.
playoff teams. We there. I mean, we won 9 games with the team we had. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like, dare I say Super Bowl caliber. I don't know, man, if we don't get it back in 1 year like that. You know what I'm saying? I think our offense is Super Bowl caliber. That's why I want the right offensive coordinator in here. But yeah, I think there's too many holes on defense. You can't tell me you're gonna run the same defense back with two mid players and think you're going to be good. I don't think so. I think the defense got major holes. Just I mean, just like the offensive line. Look how many we're lacking 7 or 8, 9 players, impact players. That's what I believe. Or I won't say impact. I would say above average. You know what I mean? Let's just say you can't run the same defense out there without DJ Reader. Think about it. Without Robertson, without Brian Branch, and who knows with Kirby Joseph, those four guys right there that you're not going to have. Okay. And then you're going to replace them with bargain bin players that know, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not going to happen, man. You dreaming. So the one way to start building this team back up is through the draft. That's just my opinion. Unless we have a
Yeah.
hell of an off season, unless he gonna bust out the wire, you gonna do what the Patriots did and sign damn near a whole defense and use all
Well,
your
I mean,
cap.
they honestly could, and this goes back to Al Qadim Muhammad. They could re-sign him and draft David Bailey if they wanted to. I mean, now granted, we will discuss Al Qadim Muhammad and free agency in a whole in another couple weeks, a few weeks or so, because free agency isn't for a while. But they could also go out in free agency and sign a guy, sign a prototypical defensive end, and still draft a guy like David Bailey or Anthony Hill Jr. or somebody like that. So there's multiple ways that they can fix this defense. But I think they understand. I don't think they're as caught up in their guys as they've been the past 4 years, the past
Mm.
5 years for that matter. I think they understand that some of their guys aren't working out. The best ability is availability. Uh, Josh Pascal has spent the first 4 years of his career being unavailable. Levi Wuzarike has spent the first 4 years of his career, for the most part, being unavailable. And even when you are available, it's not like you out there making monster splash plays and big impacts as it is anyway. Typically, after 3, 4 years of a guy's career, he is what he is. As I said earlier in the show, there are very few guys out here who turn out to be the Max Scherzer of football, where I don't get great until I'm 30. Like
Mm.
that's typically not
Yeah,
the way it
unless
works,
you're
man.
quarterback is
Yeah,
usually happens that way. Yep.
yeah. But all right, so man, let's go ahead and get up out of here. I want to thank everybody for joining us this Saturday morning. We had a great show. Grateful for everybody that joined in for us. Um, we did 2 linebackers. I say we jump into the defensive line probably next Saturday, either defensive tackle or edge rusher for that matter. We'll let you guys know probably by tomorrow morning. The video will be posted on what you can expect from next Saturday. And like I said, we're gonna stick with the defense. We'll be jumping into the offensive line, I think, in another couple weeks too. But I like doing it this way because you don't want to just overkill everybody with the linebackers or the defensive tackles or the corners for that matter. But you give people a little bit of taste of each position, little by little. Because, like you said, we got the Senior Bowl coming up,
Mhm.
so we're gonna be doing multiple videos and players from the Senior Bowl as well. Um,
Love the Senior Ball,
we'll be
man.
able to do have actually hold some discussions with some people from the East West Shrine Bowl, the Hula Bowl, as well as hopefully I can get us a representative from the Senior Bowl on this year. We were able to have a representative from the Hula Bowl and the East West Shrine Bowl last off season, just to give you guys a whole different outlook on these players, because we can get in front of these microphones and give you our impact and our thoughts on these players all day, which ain't too off. You know, not to brag about it, but we've been right about a lot of stuff on this show in
Yeah.
regards to these players and these prospects. But it's also good for you guys to hear some of our not necessarily representatives from these bowls and scouts who view things the way we view it, because everybody don't have to view it the way we view it. But
Mhm.
it's also good to hear some professionals from time to time on some of these shows give you an outlook on some of these players, because they see things we don't always see. And sometimes we've seen some things they don't see. So we just try to give you, at least try to be as multifaceted in our Lions coverage on this show, because anybody can get in front of a microphone and just yell out stats and just
Yeah.
tell you what to think, or do damage control for the organization. We try to give you as much as possible. Walt Dollar, shout out to Walt Dollar, who actually gave me the music for this outro video, this intro video.
Shout
He
out
said
Walt.
it best to me a long time ago. This Eric, actually Eric Russell's brother. He said it to me a couple years ago. After watching y'all show, I'm full. Like, and that's what we want people to say. After watching our show, we want you to be full of knowledge. We want to be the home cooked meal of Lions content creators. So till next time, we'll be back in a couple days. I know we'll be back in a couple days to take a look at some of the news going on with the team as well.
Yep.
And we will be back next Saturday with another film exam. Till next time, enjoy your weekends. One pride.